After a discussion with their goblin guide, Smudge, although they're keen to get to the ruined Abbey of St. Clwyd, the group agree that it would probably be wiser to stop off in the human town of Prigwort to resupply. It takes them half a day's travel through the dense dolmen wood to reach the town. And eventually, through the trees in the distance, you start hearing the sounds of people's voices, the sound of animals in the distance. And as you move around some trees, you see what appears to be a fairly, I mean, it's not a city by any means, but it's a fairly substantial looking town. Just beyond that, sort of probably maybe 6 miles to the north, you sort of guesstimate, as you sort of peer over the trees, you can see what appears to be a large keep sort of in the distance, rising up above the trees. It's got a sort of dull grey granite finish to it, looks quite foreboding, and it appears to be set on a cliff which rises some way above the mainstay of the dolmen wood.
Can't say as I like the look of that manor.
As you continue heading towards the town, the trees eventually start to thin out a little, and you can see numerous houses dotted around, a couple of inns, there's people walking about, a couple of carts rumbling about. There's what looks to be maybe like a town square or a market square, although there's no stalls there at the moment. It's like a large area that's obviously been kept open, you know, like clear of weeds and stuff like that, in the centre of the town. Like I say, you can see a number of people moving around, so talking to each other. They're dressed in, you know, your normal sort of Hessian and leather clothing you'd expect to see on your average everyday commoner. You can hear a church bell ringing and see like a small sort of church / chapel just off centre of the town. People are walking around talking to each other. You can see women carrying like wicker baskets on their arms. There's a couple of portly men wandering around, stopping to pass the time of day with each other, they're talking in common, but they've got that lilting twang of an accent that you've come to associate with the people of the dolmen wood. One thing you do notice is you obviously take a bit of time to take the place in before you approach, having learned to sort of a bit of caution while you're in the dolmen wood. You can see that there appear to be like quite a lot of people wandering around like with carts that have like barrels on them, or like carrying barrels under their arms.
Do you figure that's some sort of fermented beverage?
I do. It seems likely. Maybe that's something that they produce in these parts. Mushroom beer.
Seems to be a lot of it. The scale is probably something to consider to produce this amount.
On the side of the village that you're approaching from, like I say, it's like a large village / town. You can see what appears to be a large set of black timber buildings that have a sort of like subtle like off-white trim to them in that sort of Georgian style. They appear to be around a small grassy courtyard with a small sort of twisted, stunted tree growing in it. You're not sure what sort of tree it is at this distance, and there's a track sort of leading into the rest of the town, just like a sort of obviously well trodden, but just like a dirt track.
Do you want me to take a closer look before we go, or are we going to begin with?
Let's just go. It's just a normal town with normal people.
Before we do set off, I'll wrap that face sword up in my cloak, thus concealing it.
Absolutely fine, no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to go along with you fellas, whatever you think's best. What about you, Smudge? Are you going to be all right in here, or are you going to get some grief being as you're kind of you don't exactly blend in so well.
He's like, well, not been here before, so it's difficult to say. I'll be keeping my ear out, but we'll see how it goes, eh?
Yep, we'll see how it goes indeed.
Okay, so are you guys heading into Prigwort?
Yeah.
Okay, as you start heading in, you're moving past these black sort of timber buildings, and you can see as you get closer, there's a small square wooden sign sort of swinging off one of the outlying buildings that says, just has very small, in quite a sort of austere, sort of no-nonsense font, it says Rap Tappens.
Rap Tappens. Does that mean anything to you fellas? Rap Tappens? Is that like a name? Do we think that's a name, or is that like a, like a
Sounds like
pastime, like a profession or something?
it sounds like a place where you would drink.
Yeah, it does a bit, doesn't it? Are we getting that? That
That stank.
that smell of stale beer and piss on the wind.
As you're going past, you can smell...
Bit of vomit, perhaps, overtones of vomit.
You can sort of smell like that yeasty aroma that you might associate with a beverage or two. However, but the smell of, unusually, the smell of piss is almost entirely absent. There's no sort of smell of stale vomit or any sort of like half-eaten kebabs lying around. And aside from like the odd occasional murmur, normally you expect like a tavern to be, there's plenty of like rioters like shouting and people like sort of messing about and like causing an uproar. This place feels like quite serene and quite quiet.
Maybe this is the place where they make the stuff.
A microbrewery.
I hear you can make a lot of money in those. Small batch. Good investment. Let's move on.
And it needn't necessarily be good beer either.
No, just make it super weird. Maybe with mushrooms or something.
Well, did we want to move on or investigate?
I think let's go. We can always return to... And I refer to that thing. Rap tappins.
Tabbity tap.
Okay, you move past these buildings, and as you go sort of like quite close, you can hear some sort of like fairly subdued murmurings of like people talking inside, but nothing like the riotous conversation you'd expect in a typical tavern. As you continue forward, you can see you head through this clear sort of square, this like market square. As you're a bit nearer now, you can see there are signs that there are stalls here, but they've all sort of like been packed down. And they're all sort of disassembled. There doesn't appear to be anyone actually selling anything here at the moment. But as you're sort of looking around and taking it all in, to the eastern side of the town, you can see what appears to be a sort of short section of stone wall. Almost like, if you had like a fortified town where you'd have like a wall around it. However, this section of wall only like covers the eastern side of the town. And there's like a small... You could call it a road, but it's a little more than a dirt track, leading directly from the town square up to this wall, through what appears to be a small gate in the wall, and into like the dolmen wood proper. The party also spot a young man leaning up against the wall, chewing on a stalk of grass. He has a very crude spear made of a knife lashed with twine to a broom handle, leant carelessly up against the wall next to him, and he seems not to have a care in the world.
I point a finger at this individual, and I turn to Big Mick and I say, "What do you make of this?"
Well, that's a mighty short bit of wall. I can't see what it's doing. And as for that guy, I mean, if we just go a little bit up there, we can walk round that wall and not bother him. I don't see what he's guarding. I mean,
Where do we go and ask him?
Well, yeah, I mean, we can go and ask him, but I was just thinking maybe just a beer to wet my whistle, perhaps, before I get engaged in conversation and that. But never let it be said, the old Friar Dunstan rained on the parade and spoiled all the fun?
Absolutely not. But maybe
No.
let's just find out what's going on in this town before we settle down and
Get steaming.
get inebriated.
Oh,
yes.
yeah. Inebriated. That was the word I was looking for.
The companions decide to approach the young man at the wall and question him. You walk up to this young fellow, and he's probably no older than about sort of 15 years old.
Oh,
As you
Yeah.
approach me, he's quite a youngster.
a young old boy.
You walk up to him, he's wearing like a wide brim like straw hat, presumably to like protect himself from the sun, because obviously the trees don't extend there, so the sunlight is actually like shining fully in to this area. As you approach, he sort of stops chewing the grass, like drops it on the ground at his feet, doffs his hat, and he's like, "Morning."
Morning.
He's like, "Oh, you're a bit early for the market." So, well, ain't gonna be no one trading for a couple of days at least.
Days? How long does it take to set up a stall around here? Days?
He says, "Well, it's only Wednesday. Market's on Friday, mate.
All right. Right. Okay. Well,
Same time every week."
Friday market. Fair enough.
Where is the market?
He says, "Well,
Physically speaking.
he says he'll be there in the square, but like, see, everything's packed down at the minute. What they normally start getting it ready on Thursday. People start coming in, setting up, and then they're ready to go by Friday." He said, "But well, like I say, if you're open to trade, you're a bit early for it. Although I suppose if you want to start setting up, there's no one's going to complain about it. I mean, it's not like we're using it for much else in a minute. No one start. What sort of beers are you trading?"
Beers?
He says, "Yeah."
Oh,
He says, "Yeah, beers." He says, "Well," and then he sort of he says, "Well, looking at you, I assume you're a beer seller." And he sort of like looks up and down at Big Mick.
He's
What are you trying to say, son?
He says, "Well, I don't mean no offence, sir. All I'm saying is, you know, if someone like took me to your group and said, which one of these do you think's going to be selling the beer, I'd probably pick you." He says, we get a lot of beer sellers coming through Prigwort. Make some of the finest beers in the Tolman wood.
Yeah, and funny enough, I think I'd probably pick you as the geezer that stands by the wall that you can just walk round. What exactly are you doing? Stood by this gate here.
He laughs when you say that, and he says, "Well, it's not really a job as such. It's like a village tradition." He says, "Right,
All right.
couple of centuries ago, I think it were, give or take, the local lord here, he was. Now, I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but he had a bit of a thing where he was petrified of wild animals coming out of the forest and getting to the people in Prigwort. So he started like building this wall. The idea was to like build it all round Prigwort, but unfortunately he like passed away before it had done. And he got this bit here, you see. But before he died, in one of his last acts, said he'd like someone to like watch the gate. And well, it just became a bit of a village tradition. You know, we all know that the wall's not protecting anything. I mean, you can see I'm not exactly an army to stop anybody, am I? And he like laughs at his own joke. He says, "But yeah, it's just a bit of a village tradition. You know, we always try and have one of us youngsters just like stood by the gate, and it's a bit of a local thing that a lot of the local merchants, when they like bring their brews through and that, they like to come through the gate. You know, bit of a sense of ceremony, and you know, I'll just say good morning to them, like tip me out, and they go on to the market. Everyone's happy." He says, "We know." He leans and says, "We know the wall's no good. It's not going to protect us against anyone, but you know, just a bit of fun, sir."
the subsequent lords didn't continue the construction.
No, the lord after him, quite rightly, realised that it was folly to try and build a wall around a village to protect it from animals when you're in the middle of the forest. I mean, after all, birds is animals, aren't they? And a wall ain't going to stop them, is it? So no, he said, "Oh no, better we not spend our money on foolishness like that. You know, we'll spend it on like improving the village and stuff like that." But he also didn't really see any point knocking down the wall that was already there, because it had cost to like have it knocked down. So he just said, "Well, we'll leave it there. We'll make a little bit of local fun of it. You know, we'll have like a few like people where in the village when they get married, they do it by the wall and stuff like that. Just a nice bit of local colour. No harm in it."
I kind of think it wouldn't have been a bad idea to have a wall all the way around, personally.
He says, well...
A lot to be said for a wall. Good solid wall, that's what you want.
Well, I weren't alive when the decision were made, so, I can't really say anything, but it's been like this as long as I can remember.
So, there's a beer market every Friday.
Well, not just beer, although, yeah, there's a lot of beer. So, we've got quite a fine garment maker in town, so there's quite a lot of clothing and stuff like that. I know you might not think it to look at me, with me just there in me normal clothes and whatever, but old Brandy Biles, well, he makes some right fine clothing, but wow, it's a bit on the pricey side.
I guess at this point, because I'm wearing like a sarong of my scarves because my clothes got destroyed.
Yeah,
you might want to call in there, Jackdaw.
How expensive would it be to acquire? How do you say? An outfit.
He says, "Wow."
And I've like motioned at myself.
He says, "Well, now we had a fine lady come through here a couple of years ago it would have been, and she bought a wolfskin corset from him. Can you imagine that? A wolfskin corset from him, and I think I remember someone saying that cost her like 20 gold pounds or some such. But it was right nice, though.
It seems like I need to go browse some corsets.
Yeah,
Oh, no, not just corsets, sir. He makes
Jack.
other things as well, but I don't know what the prices are.
I'm not seeing you in a wolfskin corset. I was thinking something a bit more normal, a bit more regular, a bit more like we're used to. Something dark and
Hooded.
sinister.
The young man says, well, if you're going to go to brandy bars as well, I should tell you that this is how expensive it is. It's by appointment only. What you want to do is you want to get yourself round to the Wrinkled Meddler, stick your head in there, get yourself an appointment, and then you can sashay in and like corset yourself up to your heart's content. Well, if you've got the money, that is.
An appointment to the tailor?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Although to be honest,
that's how them fancy tailors work, innit? I mean, it's the same down in Greater London.
Although if you start talking, if you refer to like Brandybile as a tailor, wow, he'll start going on about being a member of like the esteemed guild of tailors, and then wow, that's a good 15 minutes of your time wasted.
So I'll just go get the appointment, then refer directly to the merchandise. For example, the corset. Good. Okay. I don't know if it's just me, and I turn to the rest of the group, and then back to our new friend here. I didn't really expect this kind of place to be here. I don't know what I expected, but the welcome that we got on the beach was more about the sort of viscera and murder. And you're here guarding a nonsensical wall, looking forward to a regular beer market / tailor festival, apparently. And it seems like at any moment, out of the woods could come charging as big as a house monstrosity to knock all your buildings down and skewer you.
He leans in it like a conspiratorial voice. He says, wow, we've got a secret weapon, haven't we?
What was it? What is it?
He says, well, we've got the old wizard, Mostelmeyer.
Don't tell me he lives up in the keep.
No, of course he doesn't. Huh? He doesn't live in a keep. He says, right, if you carry on past that building there, towards the northwest side of the town, you'll see a big thatch building, got like a couple of like extra little bits coming off the side of it. That's where he lives, just right on the outskirts. Although he's a bit of a miserable old bugger, if you ask me.
So the wizard keeps the monsters of the woods away.
Well, that's how I understand it. Yeah.
So if you don't live in the keep, in that dank looking, somber looking keep.
What you mean Harramore Keep?
Yeah.
He says, "Oh no, that's Lady Harramore's gaff."
Lady Harramore.
Yeah.
Right. Am I supposed to know Lady Harramore then? Because we're new to the area. To be fair, I ain't got a clue what you're talking about.
He says, "Well, Lady Harramore, she's one of the local lords, you know, on behalf of obviously she pays a fealty to Lord Brackenwold, but obviously Lord Brackenwold can't be everywhere, so he's got lots of people under him who keep an eye on different parts of the area for him. And well, her gaff's up in that keep. We don't see much of her. Where occasionally a daughter comes down, but we don't see much of her at all. Occasionally she sends some of her servants down when there's a market on, if she needs some things and whatnot."
But have you met her?
Oh, Lady Harramore? No.
So
anyway, what brings you people to Prigwort anyway? Like you say, obviously you're not local. I can tell by your weird accents.
I ain't got a weird accent. You got a weird accent.
That's not what you want about.
Talking about a weird accent.
You're doing it there.
I speak the proper Queen's English, mate. I don't know about whatever that nonsense you're coming out with. I'm just putting that down to country bumpkinness. I ain't the one with a weird accent. Jeez, calls me fat then, since I've got a weird accent. Standing by a wall. This is the bloke who's standing by a wall.
I didn't call you fat. I didn't call you fat. I just said you look like a beer seller.
You kind of implied that I was fat. You know what I'm saying? He's sort of saying, like I'm a barrel, like I'm like a barrel. It reminds you of,
He says, "Wow."
And I've had a few too many bevies.
He says, "Wow."
He's saying, "I know, mate. I've been insulted by bigger fellas and tougher guys than some fresh out of you just." Well, I ain't even going to say. I ain't going to even lie myself.
Well, far be it from me to contradict city folk like yourself. I mean, us poor country bumpkins. I mean, what would we know about it?
Exactly what I'm saying. I see you fell in. Well, at least you're bright enough to fall in. That's what I like. I tell you what, I'll cut you a bit of slack now that you've seen the light. Go on, Jackdaw. Don't let me stop you.
No, I'm taking out a dagger as I witness Big Mick getting all agitated. I'm like, oh, it's going down.
No, it's just a bit of ribaldry, Jackdaw. We don't need to get the knife out.
The what?
A bit friendly banter, says the young man.
Bants in it.
I'm gonna go to the tailor's appointment now, and I put the dagger back into my sarong.
Back into your nappy. Oh dear. Anyway, listen. I'm only joshing with you, fella. We'll catch you later. We'll catch you later for a few mushroom beers or whatever.
Nice. Well, have a good time. Like I say, if you're staying for market, it's in 2 days, but there's plenty of places to get a room, and since most of the other merchants ain't here, I mean, you should pretty much have your pick of the inns.
Cool. Make sure nothing sneaks around that wall.
he laughs when you say that. He says, don't you fear, you'll hear the sound of my footsteps running away if someone sneaks around that wall. He says, don't get me wrong, I like a bit of tradition as much as the next person, but I don't like enough to get killed. And he laughs.
Quite right.
He says, and then he picks up his makeshift spear, and he's like, this is how much the walls actually use. Look at this thing they give me, and he waves this broom handle with a knife strapped to it about. He's like, what am I going to do with that? Apart from clean some bloody cobwebs off. Couldn't tickle a pig with that.
Oh dear.
So while all this is going on, what's Lieutenant Richard Uffington doing?
The lieutenant is looking around, not really paying much attention to the kid or the banter that's going on.
Yeah, but as you're sort of looking around, you're taking Prigwort in, you can see that there appears to be quite a large number of inns. You can see at least 3, which is quite considerable for this sort of town, the size of the town. You'd expect maybe 1 but there's at least 3 that you've seen. As the this young fellow was like pointing and saying, like, "Oh, we've got a wizard who lives over there." I just like looking around the building, because you can see this large sort of thatched building with like 2 sort of side wings on it that he was talking about. You know, like little chimney coming out of the top of it, and there's a few other like buildings dotted about. You can see like people just walking around, like talking to each other, you know, passing the time. It looks a scene of peaceful village life.
Mm-hmm. I expect the population trebles or quadruples on Friday, young fellow.
He says, "Oh yes," he says, "yeah, easily." He says, "We get plenty of merchants on the Loch Ness." He says, "Thing is, right, because we get our water comes down from like the big lake. It's like it's beautiful. Apparently, it's like supposed to be like right. I mean, I don't know. I'm not old enough, but he says apparently it's supposed to be like right good for making beer. So we've got lots of people who make beers in town, like I was saying." And of course, the merchants, when they come down, they like to get down a bit early. They get their stuff set up. They all settle in for the night. You know, a lot of them know each other. They've got to know people in town. They all have like a bit of food to eat. They all get nice and like beard up, swapping stories. There's always like a few like travelling like minstrels and stuff like that sort of follow down with them, make a bit of coin. They have like a nice old time. Then the next morning, you know, once they've all like nursed their sore heads, they get up, put their stalls out, get ready to sell, and then like we get a lot of people coming down on the Friday to obviously take advantage of like the market. I mean, we get people coming down from like Castle Brackenwold and like the villages around there. We get some people coming down from like Harrowmore, a few people from like Orb Swallow and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a good local tradition. Like I say, every Friday, and obviously obviously Prigwort does pretty well out of it, because obviously the inns are like charging for the rooms and the beer and food and stuff like that. And I know the old wizard likes to sell a few of his like concoctions and stuff like that. So he makes a tidy crown out of it or two.
Good. Well, I suppose we could come back for Friday, couldn't we, gentlemen?
He says,
Definitely, yes.
He says, "Well, yeah, if you've got anything, I mean, not just like beers and like clothes and whatever, there's other stuff as well. But if you got anything you want to sell, you know, you get a good price for it here. I mean, the Harrowmores have got fairly deep pockets, and like I say, sometimes some Brackenwold servants come up, and a few of the sort of noble families from around there. So you'll probably get a good price if you've got something good to sell. I mean, that's why a lot of merchants come here, you see, because we're right in the middle of Harrowmore, Orb Swallow, and Brackenwold here. So, you know, a lot of people come up to like meet in the middle, as it were."
What do you know about the old abbey?
The what?
The old abbey by the lake.
I can't make a roll to see what he knows. He's like, "Nah, don't know anything about no old abbey." Well, now you come to mention it, we did have a fella go through here about a week and a half ago. Sort of like he had a bit of that old devout look to him, you know, the brown like robes and all that. Stopped off in the village, quite polite. Said he was on some sort of like pilgrimage or something like that. I spoke to him a little bit as he like passed through the gate, but I didn't want to hold him up because he looked like he had his heart set on whatever he was doing. But yeah, he said he was on some sort of like religious like visitation or whatever. But like I said, I didn't want to hold him up, so I didn't press him. And he went into the town for a bit, you know, like got some like food and a bit of drink and whatnot, and then he carried on out of town into the woodland. So I don't know anything about no abbey though, I'm afraid.
No.
So I know there's talk that they used to be like churches and whatnot in the woods, but whether there's any of them still left, I don't know, to be honest.
Did you say there's a church in town, John?
There is, yeah.
So I would like to just kind of walk over towards it and examine the church and see what kind of church it is.
Okay, that is absolutely fine. So you head over to this small church. It's like a little bell tower. You see there's like a small sort of wall around it. A fairly standard sort of village church. A slightly rambling structure. There's obviously been like repair work that's been done to it. You can see that there's a fairly sort of substantial walled graveyard behind the church, sort of on the northern edge of the town. As you're sort of looking at it, you can see that there's an iron gate in this wall that leads into this graveyard.
Okay. And is the door open, or?
The door is open, and you can see that there's writing sort of on the archway over the door that says the Church of St. Waylain of the Sack. Now, if you wish, you can make me an intelligence roll to see if you know anything about this obscure saint.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay. An intelligence check. 17.
Okay, so as you're sort of pondering over this saint, you vaguely recall you can't remember many of the details, but you think St. Waylain is the patron of executioners and axe grinders, if you remember correctly. It's a very obscure saint. You vaguely remember some sort of legend about the reason he became a saint was he was going to be executed, and then the headsman couldn't cut off his head for some reason, and it was seen as like a miracle, so he was pronounced a saint. But you can't remember the details. Like I say, perhaps this person's more of a figure over here on Emerald, but in the sort of mainstay of the Church of Gale, it's like a really obscure sort of minor saint.
Okay. So I would like to, I guess, stick my head in the door and see if there's anyone around.
Okay, you stick your head in through the door. You can see there's a couple of people sort of in there, just sort of like sat down, sort of passing. There's no service on. You can see a fairly sort of thin gentleman wearing the normal sort of monk's robes that you will be obviously familiar with, Friar. You can see he appears to be supervising a couple of, you presume, locals that are helping him sort of clean the church, sort of rubbing down the walls, cleaning cobwebs away, stuff like that.
Okay. So I think I'd like to sit down for a few minutes in quiet contemplation.
Absolutely fine.
It has been a while since I have been in church.
Yeah, no problem. No one gives you a second glance as you sit down. Like I say, other people are sitting down and like taking a quiet moment. The father, the pastor, is sort of busying himself, sort of like instructing these two youths, "Oh, make sure you get those cobwebs from that corner," and they're just sort of like allowing people to be alone with their thoughts. Meanwhile, Jackdaw, eager to make an appointment with the tailor, starts his search for the wrinkled meddler. And eventually, after 10-15 minutes, like I say, it's not a massive sort of city, you come across what appears to be a three-winged building with it's quite posh as far as buildings go in this town, actually. Inside the sort of three wings there's what appears to be a spacious cobbled courtyard which has a small fountain in it, a small statue which appears to depict the golden angel Gale. There are benches around the side of it. A couple of people are sat chatting in this courtyard. There's like flowers, etc.
Butterflies.
Yeah, exactly. It all looks quite peaceful and beautiful. The ground floor is constructed of ancient stone blocks, while the upper floors, of which there are two, appear to be sort of that Georgian sort of wood beam style, and they appear to have murals painted between the beams which depict the town market when it's being used. There's like pictures of like merchants and sort of eager crowds and stalls painted on the sides of it. It's no sort of old masterpiece, but it's a fairly accomplished mural. There's an archway in the centre through the courtyard, and as you peer through it, you would see that appears to lead to the inn's main entrance, a large wooden door. as you're looking around, there's also what appears to be a small, like you presume, tradesman's entrance, like a smaller single wooden door at the side. And there's what appears to be a small stables to the rear of it.
These folks in the sort of fountain area with the benches, do they look extremely affluent? Or are they just commoners from the town?
They don't look ridiculously rich, but they're obviously not paupers. And in fact, can you roll me a d20?
I can. Yep. It's on brand.
Okay, so as you're sort of wandering around and you're taking this all in, there's two young village girls, like I say, probably 15 and 16 maybe, talking amongst themselves. And as you pass by them, you catch a sort of snatch of their conversation, and you hear one of them say, "Oh no, look, really, seriously, I heard them. Look, what they do is they put moss dwarf bones in it. Yeah, they get them from the grave diggers who like into the villages when it's dark, and bring the bones back here. And the brewmasters, they scrape them off and they put them in the brews. That's what makes them so good. What my cousin told me." And then obviously
I will make a note of that.
You walk past and that's like what you hear.
Mm-hmm. I will find my way into the fountain, in front of the fountain, and I will accost the first person I can find. You there? Where does one get an appointment with the marchand of fine fabrics?
He says, "Well, what you need to do is you need to go inside, and you need to speak to one of the Hideball brothers, Adrian and Mollycop. And well, if the master tailor's in there, they're probably, and you look like you can afford his services, they'll probably put you directly in touch. If he's not there, they can get a message to him."
I nod, and I will go and I will try and find these assistants of the master tailor.
Okay, so you head inside. It seems to be a carefully curated, rustic inn. It conveys a feeling of coziness, although there's like a little touch of elegance in there that's a little bit more than you'd expect in a traditional village inn. You can see the tables have like linen cloths on them, there's silver cutlery on the tables, and there's like candlestick holders with candles in, obviously not lit at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You can see there's like a double staircase which you presume heads up to the upper floor, and there's obviously doors leading into, you presume, like the kitchen, various subsidiary rooms, and presumably the stables. As you head in, you can see there's a chalkboard in one corner, and it says lodging 6 silver shillings per night, private room, suite rental 15 silver shillings per night, stabling 6 silver pieces a night, and private bathing chambers 4 silver shillings.
Is there a sort of like reception desk or
you see
or
a bar?
Yeah.
Like,
So
it appears to be like made of like finely polished wood. It's against the sort of left hand side as you walk in.
Yep. I will go there and wave over who is behind the bar.
You wave, and a slender looking young woman, probably in her 20s, walks over to you, and she's like, "Oh, good evening to you, sir."
Well, that remains to be seen. However, I am looking to book an appointment with the master tailor.
Oh, yes. So he says, "Well, I'm Madrid. I'm in charge of this establishment on behalf of my two brothers. I'm sure I can make the necessary arrangements with the master tailor Brandy Barley. He's not here at the moment. However, he is somewhat particular, sir, about the people he actually gets to see. So I'm afraid, and I don't mean any offence by this, sir, but I will have to ask to see proof that you can afford the services that he's offering. Otherwise, I'll never hear the end of it, sir, if I make you an appointment and you don't have the requisite funds.
Is this a case of down payment?
Oh no! You don't have to give me any money, sir. I mean, if you want some drink or a food, obviously yes. But no, this is just a case of I need to see that you've got enough money to purchase something off the master tailor. Otherwise, if I make an appointment and you go in and he says, "Oh well, what about this, this, and this?" and you're like, "Oh well, I've only got 3 copper shillings on me," then I'll never hear the end of it, sir.
Yeah, I'll get like 5 gold pounds, and I'll like show them to her. It's like
you show them to her, and she's like, "Oh well, yeah, I can get you a drink and some food for that, sir. But I'm going to have to ask you to show me you've got enough money to purchase something off the master tailor." Okay, so you sort of like put the rest of the money with it.
Yeah.
And she smiles and says, "Oh well, yes. Seeing that you're obviously a man of means, sir, I can certainly make you an appointment with the master tailor. When is it you're looking to see him, sir? Is it a matter of some urgency? Are you attending a ball at Harramore Keep? Maybe a function with Lord Brackenwold?"
Because I imagine at this point, because I've been going around in my scarf sarong. I've been using my elven cloak to cloak myself. So I open it like all the way through, revealing my ravaged body and my sarong. As an answer, I say,
you notice that she doesn't even like raise an eyebrow when you do that.
Yeah, like my attire has unfortunately been destroyed in the forest, and I'm left with this, and I would rather have something quickly.
Oh yes, of course. If you just take a seat at one of the free tables, sir, and she like passes you over pours like a flagon of beer and stuff. That's on the house, sir. You sit and enjoy that at the table. I'll go and make you an appointment, and I'll tell the master tailor that it's of some urgency. I should be back in about 5 or 10 minutes.
Very good.
Make yourself comfortable.
I will endeavour to do just that. So I sit down and I nurse the beer and savour it.
Okay, she heads out the front doors of the tavern. About 5 or 10 minutes pass. She comes back in and then says, "Well, that's all sorted, sir. Feel free to head over to Brandy Biles at your earliest convenience. If you just head," and she sort of like points out the door. "If you see the town hall there, if you just head round behind it, there's an alleyway, and you'll find a red painted doorway. It's got a sign on it saying Brandy Biles. You can't miss it. And just knock on the door. He's expecting you."
Very good. So, how big was the beer? Because she was gone like 5 minutes.
It's just like a pint.
Yeah. So, yeah, I will get rid of the rest, and I will head down because I just want the clothes. I thank her and leave.
Okay. Well, if you're drinking the beverage, could you please roll me a d20?
I could. It will be terrible, as usual. Oh, no.
That's fine. Okay, so while she's gone, you obviously lift this foaming tankard of ale to your lips. The foam started to die down, and you see to your surprise that the beer is like a sort of pale mauve in colour, a sort of purpley brown colour, and there's a distinct smell of almost like licorice coming from it. When you taste it tastes absolutely beautiful. Like I say, a really nice sort of like a licoricey, almost like absinthe sort of flavour to it. It's about the strength of a normal beer. However, as you're sort of drinking it, you do find that it gives your thoughts an odd sort of clarity. So you almost find yourself like thinking more clearly, like as you're drinking it. It's quite an unusual experience.
I was just gonna say that it's a regular beer, except your feeling is actually true. That you're thinking somehow more clearly. Yeah. Oh, okay, that sounds interesting.
So yeah, and then she comes back. She gives you the directions. She tells you that the beer is called Purple Aspintheon. Says it's one of the finest that the master brewers make.
Aspintheon, okay. Because we might need to get this imported to London.
She, as you're sort of like musing about that, she tells you that it's normally a gold pound a pint. But obviously, since you're booking an appointment,
as a complimentary.
Complimentary, yeah.
How much is a cask of this?
She says, "Oh, well, unfortunately, I don't sell it from the cask. I'm not really allowed to do that because you'd have to speak to the master brewers.
Yes,
we're only allowed to sell it by the flagon.
And
they're quite protective of their recipes."
Yes, I imagine so. So where does one book an appointment with the master brewer?
She says, "Oh, well, if you go to the town hall, there's normally at least one of them around there."
Good. Well, I thank you for this service, and I will be off now to find some accoutrement.
Okay. And as you stand up to leave the inn, can you please make me a constitution roll?
Okay, so that includes the level, because that's the way the sheet works. So -5 if it doesn't include my level.
Okay, now you've only drank a pint, so you're not hammered or anything like that. But as you sort of stand up, you're feeling like a little bit merry. You're maybe like swaggering a little bit. You're a little bit unsteady. So it's quite a strong beer, but it is only a pint of beer, so it's not going to cause any modifiers or anything like that.
It's a strange sensation for Jackdaw, I feel, because it makes him think clearly, and he's also kind of feeling good.
One thing you do find out as well is the clarity that it lends your thought is obviously weird, but as you're sort of walking out, you find that your thoughts keep sort of. I mean, obviously you tend to be a pretty sort of here and now person for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But as you're sort of walking out, and you're feeling this sort of slight warm fuzziness of this beer, you find your thoughts keep turning to the future. Sort of like what are we going to do when we get back to the Havenlands? What's our next step? Have we really cured the plague? If we have, what are we going to do? And it's a bit of an odd experience to you, because you normally live pretty much in the present, but you find you're unable to stop your thoughts wandering into like future possibilities, let's say.
Yeah. So I guess I'm like almost skipping towards the master tailor then.
Indeed. Okay, so you make your way to this alleyway behind the town hall, and eventually you locate this small red painted doorway. There's a shiny brass doorknob on it, and what appears to be a small bronze plaque that bears the inscription, "Brandy Biles, by appointment only. Inquire at the Wrinkled Meddler. Member of the esteemed Guild of Tailors. Rogues beware, affiliate of the Guild of Enchanters." And while you're sort of reading that, I'm just going to jump to the rest of the group and ask, what are you guys up to? Obviously, we know the friars in the church. What are Big Mick and the lieutenant up to?
Well, what do you reckon, Lieutenant?
Well, I think I saw the friar head towards the church. I missed where Jackdaw went.
He's going to get
It
some...
seems to disappear a lot more easily these days, since he got that cloak.
He's got to get some fancy clothes, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh.
I'm not in the market for clothes.
Fancy a beer, then?
Yeah. I thought you'd never ask.
Right.
Okay, so you guys
I'll buy the first round.
Okay, so you guys are having a drink at the Rap Tappen, is that correct? Or are you going somewhere else?
Yeah, we got to go to the Rap Tappity Tap Tappen.
Okay, no problem. You wander into the Rap Tappen, and there's a strange atmosphere. Like, it's very calm, very quiet, very peaceful in here. The only real sounds above the slight low murmur of conversation of a few people that are in here is like, someone like scuffing their chair as they stand up, or a table as they sit down, or like a scurrying servant lad sort of moving around collecting plates and mugs and stuff like that. You can see that the main room, unlike the normal sort of tableau you'd expect to see where there's like tables and chairs, the room appears to be divided into sets of enclosed sort of like small booths, each of which have like a cloth curtain on a drawstring over them, and you can hear sort of like murmured conversations from behind them. So there's obviously like groups of people sat behind these curtains, these privacy curtains.
Well, this is a bit of a funny old setup. This is not your average tap house, is it?
Not at all.
As you're sort of looking around, you can see, apart from the servant lads, the main figure in here appears to be a man who looks, he's getting on a bit. He looks like he's in his 50s. He's quite gaunt. He stood sort of in the corner of the room. He's got like his hands on his hips, and he's just sort of like looking over. Occasionally you hear him say to one of the servant lads, "Go on, be quick with them mugs. Get them plates out. But booth 3 wants some fresher chicken legs. Go get them in there," and like giving orders to the servant lads. None of the servant lads speak. They just sort of nod and like hurry about doing what they're doing. You see, they all appear to be dressed in like identical sort of like rust red clothing, and they're wearing sort of these odd sort of like ruffs on their sleeves and around their neck, which it stands out quite a lot. Because the sort of the carpet in here is like a mossy green, and everything else is dark wood. So this like red clothing stands out quite horribly, to be honest.
Oh, I think this is your department, Lieutenant. I think this is all a little bit too fancy for old Mick here. I think you should do the talking, or we'll get slung out.
Well, my stomach's rumbling, so I think we may partake of some repast. Excuse me, table for two, booth for two, please.
Good morrow to you, my fine sir. Welcome to Rap Tappens. I am said Rap Tappen. Welcome to my humble establishment. And you see he's wearing sort of like slightly fancier red clothes with slightly bigger ruffles on them.
Indeed, a fine establishment.
Why, thank you, my good sir. Thank you. And what can I do for you? A small repast, maybe something to wet your whistle.
Indeed, both of the above. 2 pints of your finest, and yes.
He says,
those chicken legs look very nice.
Well, you do get some complimentary chicken legs if you order with your first round of drinks. And obviously, I can tell you've not been to a Rap Tappens before. Let me tell you a few of the fine ales we have on offer at this establishment. He says, well, we have Ether Blue. Very nice, although it can be a little bit potent if you're not used to it. Although many of the courtiers that come down here from foreign climes seem to enjoy it. If you're in for the mood with something with a bit more oomph to it, we have Barrow Blaster. That's very nice. Although again, if your constitution's not used to it, it can give you a little bit of wind. And then, of course, we've got old favourites like Pilston's Heartbreaker and Smooth Alsby's and Prigwort Pure, of course. What takes your fancy, my fine fellow?
I'll sample the Heartbreaker, please.
Oh, good
you'll
choice,
make-
sir.
Oh,
He heads over and
I'm mighty tempted by some of that old Barrow Blaster, gotta say.
he goes over and he pours out a tankard, and it's a pewter tankard. He passes it over to you, and it's like this milky white pale ale that has a slight smell of elderberries, about it. He passes it over to you and says, "Well, that'll be four copper pennies to yourself, Squire."
Is that the lieutenant's one?
Yeah, he says that's the Pilston Heartbreaker.
Okay.
Oh no, you were after the Barrow Blaster, sir. Is that correct?
Oh yes.
He says, very good, very good. Like I say, I should warn you, it is a little bit on the spicy side, but
just how I like it.
and he starts working the pump to pour the beer into it. And as he passes it over to you, it's an odd-looking beverage. It's this streaked black and white in colour.
Good grief.
It's obviously a liquid, but if you've ever seen like a bird shit that's got that, like streaks of colour in it, that's the sort of.
You're not selling this, man.
And when you sort of smell it, it's got like a smell like a handful of like old copper coins.
Oh yeah, we're definitely in microbrewery territory.
He passes it over to you and he's like, "There you are, sir, a flagon of Barrow Blaster. That's 9 copper pennies to you, good sir." You pass it over to him.
Nudge the list.
I'll count them out.
Yep,
I'll be like peering into it.
Looking at this
I
milky
don't know about this.
milk.
Yep. So
Elderberry milk.
So you drink your Pilston's Heartbreaker. It's got a slight sort of burnt after note to it, but it has this really like sort of fruity, like sort of blast of like elderberry flavour to it. It's quite nice, and after drinking part of it, you're feeling pretty damn good actually. As you're drinking it, some of like the world weariness seems to sort of slough off you, and some of everything that's sort of wrong with the world seems a little bit far away and a little bit indistinct, and you find yourself sort of thinking about some of like the more humorous things like that have happened on your travels. Like that time Big Mick went into that pub and his like uncle was in there and gave him like loads of shit, and you find yourself sort of like just like chuckling to yourself under your breath about a few amusing incidents that have happened to you over the years. Meanwhile, the Barrow Blaster, that has this. It's a really strong sort of metallic taste. It's like someone took like a pint of Guinness and like turned it up to 11. Mm-hmm. There's like I say this really strong metallic taste, and you've no more than got down like half the pint, and you're like. It's extremely gassy, and like you have to like tastes really nice if you like a stout. But like I say, it does give you a mad bad case of the burps.
Yeah, best fetch me out some of that chicken. Settle this down a little bit, I reckon.
He like clicks his fingers, and one of these young lads wearing these rust red, sort of ruffled clothing comes out with a little bowl with some what look like sort of fried chicken legs. Well, more likely roasted. Puts them down with like a few herbs scattered around them, like foraged. Puts them on the table in front of you. And he says, "Well, enjoy your stay, gentlemen, and your drinks. If you need anything else, I'll be over at the bar. Don't hesitate to call. The early bird catches the worm. That's what I always say."
Much obliged, Governor.
And he goes back to like telling the serving lads what to do. And obviously, once you sit down at this table, you're in one of these booths, and he like draws the curtain over to give you some privacy as he withdraws. So it feels like you're just in like a little cosy enclosed room with like your bowl of chicken wings, your couple of like flagons of ale.
Well, I think I might have to move this over slightly if that wind starts coming out the other end, Mick?
I'll give you a fair warning. Should anything be brewing on the of an untoward nature?
Okay.
See what you did there, yes.
So we've got Big Mick and the Lieutenant getting sloshed in the Rap Tappen. We're going to jump back over to the church where we have Friar Dunstan sat there sort of meditating in the Church of St. Wayland and sort of collecting his thoughts.
So after kind of 15 minutes or so of saying the rosary and kind of collecting myself, I want to approach the pastor and see if he will talk to me.
You head over to the pastor. As I say, he's a fairly thin man, sort of shaved head, wearing a monk's habit. As you walk over to him, he makes the traditional religious sign of the Church of God, and he says, "Greetings, my son. How may I be of assistance?"
I am a fellow churchman in need of guidance, I guess. I'm seeking any information you might have on an abbey nearby. Do we know what the name of the abbey is? No.
St. Cloud.
Would you have heard of this abbey?
He says, "Oh yes, the Abbey of St. Cloud. Yes, I have heard of it. I know that it was in the woodlands to the west of here, on the shores of the lake. I think, but I don't believe it's been used by anyone of the faith for a good long while. I don't really know why. Like I say, it's on the nearest, the eastern shore of Lake Longmere, as far as I recall."
And tell me, I understand that a pilgrim passed by last week, potentially heading in the same direction. Did he stop here?
Yes. A young fellow. He was. He had some. Obviously, I can't share the details with you because it was said in good faith. But he'd recently had something of a crisis of faith, and he was trying to get back in touch with his roots, in touch with the core of the true church. And he, probably like yourself, he had heard of some of the abandoned religious buildings that were nearer the heart of the Tolman Road, and he believed that by getting in touch with the past of his faith, perhaps he could rekindle that spark of his own faith that he was worried that he had lost. Of course, I furnished the young fellow with as much information as I could, as I've just done to yourself, and I warned him there are all kind of dangers within the Tolman Road outside of this village. But seeing that he could not be deterred, I gave him what food, what arms, what aid I could, and then I sent him on his way, and that was the last I saw of him.
Indeed. Do you remember his name by chance?
He says, yes, Gabriel O'Gowan, I believe.
Okay. And was Gabriel from your fair isle?
Yes, I
or was
believe
he
so,
from
yes.
overseas? Okay. I also seem to have lost some of my companions.
I'm terribly sorry to hear that, my son.
Indeed. Would any foreigners from London like myself have passed through before today?
Not as far as I'm aware. Mostly the people we get here are from Harrowmore or Brackenwold, and then we do get merchants from further afield, but they tend to stop for the market and then return to wherever they came from. They're not so much passing through.
Okay. Interesting. That's unfortunate. I understand that there's a wizard living here, a Mostelmeyer.
Oh, yes.
So between us men of faith, is he a man to be trusted?
He says, well, I don't wish to speak ill of my fellow villagers, but I've always thought of him as something of a strange figure. I gather he was when he was from what I hear, there's any gossip, mind you. I don't like to gossip, but from what I hear, back in his younger days, he was one of those thrill seekers, sort of gallivanting around the countryside in search of fame and fortune. And I gather he retired to Prigwort, to spend the rest of his days. He spends most of his time locked up in his home doing whatever researches he's involved with. I know he spoke to a few of the brewmasters at certain points. Occasionally they go to him for advice, when they're making a particularly interesting ale, or they want to know the properties of some of the local herbs that they may be less familiar with. And I know I can't say I really approve of this, but I do know that he offers some small arcane services for coin. I've never dabbled myself. I don't see the need. My faith is enough for me. But I do know that he offers those services, especially when the market is on the Fridays. Occasionally, people will bring things to him, things that they believe have some sort of enchantment, or they wish to unravel the history behind something. And for a price, I don't claim to know what that price is. He claims to be able to look into the history of these things and somehow puzzle out what their essence is, I suppose you call it. I don't claim to understand it myself.
Indeed. An interesting man by all accounts. Well, thank you very much for your time and the use of your very pleasant chapel.
Not at all, my son, not at all. Although we see most of our services on the day before market day, tomorrow, we like to keep this place open. I've always seen it as my duty to take care of any gestures in the vague direction of the graveyard, of the generations of the sort of honoured villagers who've passed before us, and we like to provide a nice quiet place where people can get away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life, just to collect themselves. For after all, it's only when the rest of the world is quiet that you can truly hear the voice of Gale.
That is true. And may his blessings go with you.
And also with you.
And then I will kind of turn around and head out, and I will move in the direction of the wizard's house.
Okay, no problem. So you start making your way towards this thatched roofed, multiple winged building. You can see it looks fairly clean. It must have cost a fair bit of money to build. Again, it's in this sort of Georgian style. There's quite a sort of forbidding door, like huge sort of wooden double door with huge like metal door knockers on it at the front. You can see there's a little like chimney stack coming out. We've got wisps of smoke coming out of the top of the thatched roof.
So I'd like to just kind of approach and kind of politely knock on the door and see if it gets answered.
Okay, you knock on the door. For a few moments, nothing happens. Then the door like creaks open, and you see a figure wearing a long black robe with a hood pulled down, concealing its features. You see like pale hands like that sort of stood in the opening of the doorway.
Okay. So I am here to see the mage Mostelmeyer.
The figure nods and makes a gesture with its pale hand.
Okay, so I will follow it in.
Okay, you're led through this building where, to be honest, the nearest you can think of is it looks like a poor man's version of the Stygian library. There's like piles of books everywhere, and like bookcases and odd sort of bottles full of strange liquids of different colours everywhere. It's all jumbled around like there's no particular system to it, and you're led into what appears to be quite a plush looking, again quite expensive looking study. There's like one of those large globes there. There's a comfy looking leather couch. There's a large mahogany writing desk, and sat at it is a man with a bald head, a sort of wispy white beard. He's wearing a sort of long, deep purple robe, holding a quill. He's obviously mid-thought as he's like tapping the quill against the side of his cheek as he's like, sort of staring into space, like thinking about something.
So I'll give him a few minutes to kind of notice me, and if he doesn't, then I'll just kind of
he appears lost in thought, is it?
So I'll just kind of cough gently to try and bring his attention around to the room.
He looks at you and he's like, "Oh, who are you?" As
Friar
he's saying that,
Dunstan.
this black sort of cloaked figure just like slinks back through the doorway and disappears.
Friar Dunstan is my name.
He says, "Oh, new vicar, eh?" Says, "Well, it's about time they got rid of that bloody meddling Father Doyle." Oh, poking his bloody nose in where it's not wanted.
No, I am just passing through, unfortunately. You'll be stuck with Father Doyle for a little while yet. I am, however, in need of assistance, and I understand that you provide services to help people understand the magical elements of items they possess.
Oh, yes. Well, during my long and varied and colourful career, I've picked up a few skills here and there to do with identifying items of arcane import. But I should warn you, such services don't come cheap. They are quite costly to me, and I have to pass that cost on to you, I'm afraid. So if you don't have the cash, well, you're out of luck, I'm afraid, my friend.
Okay. So how much would such a service cost?
Well, see, that depends, my young fellow, exactly on what you want. If you just want me to look at something and tell you whether it has an arcane aura or some sort of hex on it, well, I like the cut of your jib, young fellow. I'd charge you no more than £25 for that. And however, if you want me to tell you exactly what something is and what it does, that, however, is more involved. That would take me at least a few days to do, although I pride myself on accuracy, and I'm afraid that will set you back somewhere in the region of £100.
Okay. So
and you'll have to leave the item with me for
indeed
at least 2 or 3 days.
Okay. So I will pull out the opalescent pearl that we have, that we borrowed from the wine merchant, and say that I know that this item is magical. I have seen its aura, but I have been unsuccessful in understanding what it does, and I would willingly pay £100 for your service.
Well, very well then. Well, if you give me half the money now and half on delivery of my services, and if he reaches a hand out, and of course you'll have to leave the pearl with me for. I shouldn't think it'd take maximum of 3 days. I might have it done a little bit sooner. It depends on my workload.
Okay, so I'll hand him the pearl and 50 gold pounds. And then I will just, as I'm kind of leaving, I'll just say, I'm heading to the Abbey of St. Cloud.
Oh, you want to be careful if you're going there.
Indeed. So, have you ever been? Do you know of...
He says, well, I've... back in my younger days, you understand, before I retired, I did venture to the outskirts over. There's a... how best to describe this to the layman? There's an unwholesome aura about the place. There's something. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be insulting here, but I don't know how best to describe it in layman's terms. The best I can understand is something very unpleasant happened there, and it's left like a spiritual stain on the area.
Okay.
However, the and he waves his hands around, so as though he's trying to think of how to describe it. The problem in the area seems to be entirely confined to the grounds of the Abbey. That's why I'm not too concerned about it. Very few people from Prigwort venture that far, and most of them don't even know it's there. So whatever's going on there doesn't seem to be spreading beyond the bounds of the Abbey, and as long as that stays the case, I check every so often, but as long as that stays, I'm happy to leave it there. After all, I'm retired. I'm an old man.
Indeed. And how long is it since you've checked up on the Abbey?
Oh, let me see. Last time would have been about 2 years ago.
Okay.
Unfortunately, now I'm getting on a bit in years. I find it a little bit more difficult to go ranging around the forest. I'm not quite as steady on my feet as I used to be, I'm afraid.
That is very reasonable. Okay, well, I thank you for your time. I shall return in 3 days on my way back from the Abbey. Hopefully I will have resolved the problem there. And I shall pick up my my pearl.
Splendid. Friar Dunstan is escorted out by the black-clad attendant, and the door is closed behind him.
Okay. So then I guess I'm kind of going to wander over. Knowing young Michael as well as I do, I figure that the rat tappings is the place to find him. So I would head in that general direction and see if I can connect up with him.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. You head to the Rap Tappen. Now, obviously, Big Mick, Lieutenant, obviously all of that bit's taken a fair bit of time. So are you two young fellows, are you going to avail yourself of any of the other ales whilst you're waiting?
Yeah, I think something a little bit lighter, maybe like that Effa Blue.
Okay, not a problem at all.
Yeah, I think.
You notice how I've got no problem remembering the names of these beers. It's uncanny, really, isn't it?
So are you both having a flagon of Ether Blue?
Indeed.
Okay, so Rap Tappen pours you out into one of these flagons, and it's a sort of translucent aquamarine colour, and it's got a sort of odd smell to it, almost like custard.
Custard. That was not what I was expecting. That's fine, that seems like a decent follow-up to what I had before,
Wrapped up and puts these down, and he says, as he puts them down, he says, "Now, I'm not saying that I'm not saying you young fellows don't know how to handle yourself, but bear in mind, most of the women around these parts are good, honest women. I don't want you drinking this and thinking you can go gadding about the village."
And what makes you think drinking this is going to have any effect on that whatsoever?
He says, "Well, I've seen it happen."
Oh yeah, you may well see it happen again.
I'm spoken for.
Now that
he says, "Well, I've known a few
fairy charms.
I've known a few people say that, my good sir, but once they've got a taste of the Ether Blue,
Well, I hear your counsel, and I shall drink it under advisement."
He says, "Well, that's 5 silver shillings for each."
Yep, that's my shout there, Lieutenant.
Okay,
No, I insist.
He takes the 10 silver shillings off you, draws the curtains again to give you some privacy, and he disappears back to what he's doing, leaving you both alone with these sort of gently fizzing aquamarine mugs of delight.
Well, your health, Big Mick.
Cheers.
Okay, so without going into too much detail about this, to give you a vague idea, effectively, if you imagine that you're like drinking like liquid Viagra, that's effectively what this brew is.
Oh no!
And basically, as you drink it, it makes you feel quite sort of languid, quite relaxed. Everything just like becomes quite sort of sensual. And you touch some of like the sort of oak paneling, and you're like the sort of grain of the wood's like captivating. Everything becomes quite sort of like touchy feely, and everything's beautiful and wonderful as you like drink these pints. So that's the point when Friar Dunstan walks in, and obviously you're directed over to this small booth that's got your friends in, and you walk in just as they finish like downing it, and they're sort of like looking around wide-eyed like, "Oh my god, this wood, It's amazing. Oh, look at the carpet in here. Oh, this table feels so amazing. And that's what you see as you see the normally sort of stoic Lieutenant Uffington and the normally slightly less stoic Big Mick, sort of like looking around like they're in some like amazing wonderland, like like reaching out and like touching everything that's in their surroundings, and sort of trying to take it all in. Like everything's just amazing and like bewildering to them.
Mick's just got a curtain and he's like,
It's amazing.
Gentlemen, how are we? Are we well?
"I never been better, Friar. How are you? You're looking good, man.
Yeah.
Take a seat.
I'm liking them robes. You've got some new robes."
No, these are the same old ones, unfortunately. So I'll sit down and I think you've had enough for both of us there, young Michael.
What are you trying to say? I'm cheers, there, man. You need to relax, Friar.
Good. It will bring you closer to Gale. I can guarantee that.
I don't need beer for that.
Don't knock it till you tried it, Friar.
Big Mick and the Lieutenant are just loving life.
Friar doesn't feel awkward at all.
So, Friar, what have you been up to?
I visited the church.
Oh, it's
And
a
met-
fine church, yeah.
Yeah, well, come here. It's a church. I met the rather dour Father Doyle. He had no information on the Abbey. And then I met the wizard, who had some information on the Abbey. Believes that a great evil or unpleasantness happened there, or lives there, or is contained within.
Don't believe a word.
And that coincides with what young Smudge told us. So I think
Smudge, where is
That's
it?
the point. Where do we put Smudge?
That's
He
the point.
did say he was going to. He did say he was going to keep his eye out.
He's not under the table, is he?
You have a look under the table. Smudge isn't there.
Something was touching my leg earlier.
I bet. Oh,
Well, there's
I
only,
wonder what
there's
he's
only you
up
and
to.
Mick in here. That's all I'm saying.
don't look at me. It's that Friar. Trying it on now. You've had a couple of beers, Lieutenant. I knew he had a soft spot for you all along. Hey.
Friday.
I know
Danger.
you boys.
Evil, as if. Yeah.
should we perhaps then find somewhere to stay then, gentlemen, since you both seem to have had more than enough?
Stay.
I'm quite comfy here. I mean, I'm not in a rush. It's early doors. I mean, the sun ain't even past the yard arm yet.
Well, we've only tried two. I think
Yeah,
it's
I've
got
only
at
tried
least-
two.
at least
This
5.
whole wealth, an embarrassment of riches in terms of beverages and. I mean, we've only sampled these chicken wings. We barely got started.
Oh,
Where's old-
As though summoned by the fact you've mentioned trying another ale, the curtain sort of pulls back a little bit, and you see Rap Tappen stood there, and he's like, "Beg your pardon, gentlemen. I couldn't help but overhear that you were thinking of trying some more of our splendid ales."
Well, what would you recommend for our devout friend here? I mean, I think he needs to lighten up, if you know what I'm saying. Just needs to relax a little bit.
He says, relax a little. I tell you what would probably suit your friend. How about a nice, maybe a half of smooth Alsby. That's a nice, easy drinking, light ale. Nothing to inebriate you, Father. Especially not with a half. It tends to make people feel quite jovial and quite good-willed.
Call it medicinal.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but it's a pleasant beverage, and one of our lighter beverages.
Yeah, so the half sounds very pleasant, and some food.
Of course, no problem. He says that'll be a silver shilling to yourself, Father.
And I'll hand him over the shilling.
He takes a
Thank you,
shilling.
my son.
He says, "Is there any particular food you'd care for, Father, or?"
No, whatever's good. Whatever's good. It's been a long day, and I'm very hungry.
Not a problem. I understand. He heads out. The curtain goes back. A few moments later, he comes in and he's got like a little sort of wooden board with like half a loaf on it and a number of different cheeses and a few sort of like cured meats. He also puts down like this half pint pewter mug, which has this smooth Albsby in it, which is a sort of light sort of pearlescent grey in colour, and when you smell it, it has a smell like a peach and zesty lemons.
Okay.
Has you got any of that holy cheese? He'd like that.
and at this point, with that awful joke, can I ask Big Mick and the Lieutenant, can you please both make me constitution rolls?
Right, let's have a go.
Now, obviously, the effects for failure will be slightly more pronounced for you guys than it was for Jack Dog, because you've been sitting here supping.
Right, this is a primary. Hold on. Did that fire twice?
Blimey.
Okay, so, Lieutenant, you are feeling absolutely grand. However, Big Mick, you are feeling well and truly sloshed, and as you're sort of like look, and again, like it says, this whole like sort of sensual effect. You're like well into this like booze now. You're like well on board with this. As this is going, you hear like through the sort of the wall of the booth, you hear a sort of high pitched, slight sort of like chuckle or laugh, obviously from a young lady, but to your ears it sounds like the beautiful ringing of silver bells, like the most sweet music.
Did anybody else hear that?
The rest of you have heard like a muffled like titter from a woman in my booth.
I hear the ringing of bells.
Try and bump up the
I
bell.
trust you gentlemen will excuse me momentarily while I investigate. He like sort of staggers up, stumbles, like sort of like half tips the table and then steadies it and plants his hand on the friar's head as he sort of like why that friar, and he's like elbow across the lieutenant. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Oh,
okay.
and then probably a big let rip with a trouser splitting guff as the after effects of that previous beer just kind of arc at me.
Indeed, and as he lets out this almighty guff, this smell, something betwixt like a mix of like custard and the emissions of a skunk, fills the small booth that you're in, and he sort of swaggers his way out through the curtain, like get his way out the curtain. Okay, so while Mick's on his big investigation, Jackdaw, what are you up to?
I suppose I'm about to confront the Master Tailor.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So you've knocked on the door of the
Yeah.
Master Tailor's. The door opens, and you see this man stood there. He's a weaselly-looking man. He's wearing velvet and very fancy looking clothes in the most modern of cuts. He has curly toed moccasins on and like a curled wax moustache. He opens the door and he says, good morning to you, sir. Good morning. Please, won't you come inside? I am Brandybar, your humble servant and master tailor to the rich and famous. Please, come inside, come inside. And he gestures for you to go inside.
Yeah, and I will do so.
Okay, he leads you inside to this like shop's interior. One thing you do notice is as you start passing through the threshold, are you carrying any weapons on you?
Oh, yes.
Okay, as you pass through the threshold, your weapons begin to heat up like rapidly to the point where like it's becoming painful.
I take a step back and I say, Master Taylor, I presume this is the threshold of the enchantment referred to on your plaque outside.
Yes, that's right. I had it enchanted at no small expense. I can't have any implements of potential violence, potentially causing issues with my stock. I'm afraid if you're carrying any weaponry or such like on you, you'll quite have to leave them outside, sir.
I'm quite impressed that you would protect your fabrics from weapons in this manner.
These are not simple fabrics, sir. These are the finest imported linens and velvets, and the garments I make, why, they're like my own children, so I treasure each one of them individually and craft them by hand to the finest specifications and to match the particular cut of each client. I would be doing my clients and myself as a master tailor a great disservice were I to allow implements of destruction into this font of creation.
Yes, this holiest of holies, I suppose. And I start picking out my daggers.
As you're sort of doing that, you hear Smudge's voice go, "Oi, do you want to leave him with me?" And as you look round, you see he's like stood like leaning on the corner of the building, obviously having followed you at a distance. I'll keep an eye on him if you want.
Okay. I did not see you there. Hello. Yes, if you want to, you can most definitely watch after these.
He sort of like look. He walks over to like the door and he's like, "Wow, I don't fancy going in there." So don't have a look. And he sort of like gestures the door. Don't have a look at that at all.
Yeah.
But
So
and he reaches down to the floor next to him and sort of like he just grabs a bit of the floor and like pulls it upwards, which becomes a trapdoor, and he just like scrapes all your stuff into the trapdoor and like shuts it down and the lid disappears. It'll be safe. I'll get it for you when you come out.
One day you will have to show me how that is done.
Maybe one day, but not today.
I close the door.
No problem. He's still like laughing as you shut the door.
Yeah.
You're led inside by Brandybar, the master tailor, and you walk through what you assume to be like his sort of showroom. There's bolts of luxurious-looking cloth and wall hangings covering all the walls. All the seats are covered in like plush velvet. You can see there's a table with like tape measures, tailor's chalk, like patterns for clothes, needles, threads, the like. He leads you inside and he says, "Now, what precisely can Algernon Brandybar do for you today, then, sir? Perhaps a fine set of chaps, maybe? A cummerbund, perhaps, for the ball?"
You
look like a waistcoat man to me, sir.
I part the cloak upon my body, and
he looks at you and he says, "Well, I can see the minimalist look you're going for. Very bold, if I may say so, sir."
Yes, and it is the most important aspect of it is that is entirely unintentional.
Very avant-garde, sir. Very avant-garde.
Yes.
He says, now what? I know some people are a little bit timid about this, but I I assure you I am a professional. However, I am going to need to measure you without those garments on, sir. So, do you need some privacy? There's a screen there.
I'm already without the cloak, and I'm undoing the sarong.
Oh, splendid! It's so glad to see someone who just appreciates what we have to do. He says, now, whilst you're disrobing, I'll explain how my costs work. You see, I run what I like to call a threefold pricing structure. What I do is I give you a basic price based on the item, the type of clothing that you want. Then we discuss the material that you wish it to be made out of, and that will vary the price depending on how rare or how difficult to work the material is. And then if you want any additional embellishments, coats of arms, buckles, bells even if you want, then that will of course add some additional cost to it. So what sort of item were you looking for, sir?
Well, I need the whole thing because I lost mine in the forest.
I see.
Rather unfortunate incident. However, I only have the cloak and these scarves.
Right. Okay. So let's see. So we're looking at some leggings, obviously. And
yes.
he's measuring you while he's talking this. He says, so leggings, you want a set of breeches, no doubt, to go with those. And then
tunic.
Yes. Of course, we could do you a standard tunic, sir. I could also do you a nice caftan or a doublet, should you prefer?
Yes, caftan.
A caftan. Splendid. Okay, so leggings, breeches, and he picks the scroll and he starts writing it. A caftan. Okay, so we have leggings, breeches, and a caftan. Is there anything else you would like? Maybe a vest, a waistcoat, perhaps, a codpiece. They're all the rage in some of the courtiers at the moment. The bigger the better seems to be the motto for the courtiers.
Perhaps a strong, broad cummerbund.
Cummerbund. Splendid. Cummerbund, okay. Okie dokie. So, he says, well, the base cost of that one, let's see. So, we're looking at the base cost of just the items you've asked for will be £38. Now, obviously, we need to go on to discuss materials.
Yes.
He says, "Well, I could do you a nice run in Angora. We have some beaver fur in stock. We have some fine felt. If you want to go for something a little bit more within the reach of the average pocket, sir, we do have hemp, goat skin." If you want to go a little bit more upmarket, of course, we have lace, lamb's wool. Leather's a very popular choice, very hard wearing.
How much for the leather?
He says, well, if you're going for the way it works is the material doesn't so much add to the price, sir. It determines sort of the coinage that's going to be needed. So, for instance, if you go for this whole thing in Angora, it would cost you 38 gold pounds. If you're going for it in leather, it would cost you 38 silver shillings.
I see.
Oh, I should tell you, sir, that for a limited time only, we do actually. I do actually have a very fine consignment of wolf skin that came in the other day. Or if you've, and there's no shame if your pocket won't stretch to this, sir. But we also have what I'm assured by the local practitioner of the arcane is actual worm skin.
I don't see how that would work. But
the scaled hide of a worm, sir. What's to understand? Very, forest worms are extremely rare, sir. So it's. I'm afraid it's. If you're going to go for that, it will be 38 platinum pieces, sir.
38 platinum. Do I have an understanding of how much that is in gold pounds?
It's 190.
So I would need to go and murder someone for that money. So,
Of course, the wolf skin is absolutely beautiful, sir. If you'd like that would take it back up to the 38 pound mark.
yes. If you do happen to have the worm skin at, let's say, 2 days hence.
Well, I can't make any promises, sir. Of course,
Yes.
then Friday is market day, and I'm expecting it to fly off the shelves, given its rarity.
Yes. Well,
How
so much
do
more
you feel
than
about tweed, sir? I can give you a good price on
Unbecoming.
tweed.
Perhaps in 50 years.
Very good, sir. Tweed does become the older gentleman. I'll admit.
Yes, and when I retire to my country estate, maybe that will be my choice.
Splendid.
But
But
however,
as I say, I can't promise you that I'll be able to keep the worm skin.
Yes.
Obviously, if someone has the money in the meantime, I'll have to sell to them.
yes, of course. We will do with the wolf.
The wolf
The
skin,
loo-
splendid. He says, well, so for a set of leggings, a set of breeches, the caftan, and of course the cummerbund in wolf skin, that will be £38. So now let's talk about whether you want any extras on that, sir. Any buckles, a coat of arms, maybe an emblem. Depending if your pocket will stretch to it, sir. I do have a bit of a deal going with the local practitioner of the arcane who could perhaps lay some form of minor enchantment on it, but that is a little bit on the steep side. I'm not going to lie, such things don't come cheaply.
As well, there's no harm in inquiring the price for such a thing.
He says, well, I did once have him. He made he laid a small enchantment on a doublet that I was selling to someone. No, wait, I tell a lie. It was a cloak, and it was to make it proof against fire. You see, the noble who bought it off me, a lot of his reserved clothing had been destroyed by a fire at his estate. Quite unfortunate, and he was most paranoid it was going to happen again. Now it cost an extra £500, but it did render the item impervious against flames.
This is most peculiar, I would say.
Indeed. But that was what the customer wanted, and I'm simply here to ensure the customer gets what they want.
Yes, of course. I shall keep that in mind.
How do you feel about feathers, sir?
I'll take a dozen. Black.
Oh, splendid. Well, if it's only a dozen, that will only be an additional £20, sir. But they are the finest of feathers, the finest mist crow feathers.
Very good. I would have a coat of arms.
Oh, splendid. That would be another £20. What coat of arms would you be after, sir?
The one of the Havenlands. The throne of Great London.
Do you have a... Would you be able to I'm not familiar with it. Would you be able to describe it, sir? Or do you have a picture of it? Or
Yeah, so I'll describe the royal seal, emblem, whatever, the coat of arms.
Okay, no problems. You describe it to him. And he says, yes, that's fine. I can certainly do that. I feel like I said it'll be an additional £20. Yes, I can add ruffles to it for an additional £10, sir.
This guy should be working at Subway.
You look like a stud man to me, sir. I could add studs to it for as little as £5. Obviously, only on to subtly accent the wolf skin, of course. Nothing too ostentatious.
I think specifically no for both the ruffles and the studs. Unless you can make the studs not reflect the light. And I presume no, because they are metal.
Yes, they do have a certain reflective quality
Yes,
to them. So
yes. I will do without.
absolutely fine, sir. He says it'll take me a few days to get that prepared for you, sir. But certainly by midday on market day, I should have the garments prepared for you. Luckily, you've come just before market day, before business really starts to get hectic. So I should easily be able to slide this into my schedule.
Very good. Very good.
No, not at all, sir. And I tell you, you won't regret buying garments from Brandywile Master Tailor.
Is your maker's mark terribly large?
He says, no, it's a small letter B with
Tasteful.
with a much smaller letter B in the bottom oval, all
Very clever.
very small in gold embroidery thread.
Yes, very good. Very good. I am satisfied. I say as I start applying the sarong once more. I shall come find you come market day.
Splendid. He's obviously been finishing measuring
Yeah.
while you've been talking.
Yeah.
He says, yes, very well. And simply come and knock on the door, sir. Like I say, midday, market day. I won't be at the market myself. I send one of the young lads to sell my wares, or if there's a more custom job that needs doing, to direct people to my door. So if you just come and knock on the door here, and I'll have it all ready for you, sir. Would you like it gift wrapped?
No, I would immediately make use of it.
Very good, sir. Very good. Well, it's been just for my ledger. Might I take your name down, sir?
Yes. Let it be known in the records that Reynold Oculon bought this on this day.
Reynold Oculon. Very good, sir. Very good. A pleasure to make your acquaintance and to do business with you, sir. I wish you a felicitous rest of your day.
The same. I will exit, and is our friend outside?
You head outside and you could see Smudge stood outside.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Hello, small friend. The good tailor has finished with his business, or rather is going to get started, and I have need of my implements.
He's like, right, hold on a second. He reaches down against the ground, opens up this trapdoor, disappears inside it for a few moments, then comes out like carrying this armful of knives, and you see like a few other bits like fly out and land on the side of the trapdoor before he comes out with the rest of it. And puts it on the floor by your feet, closes the trapdoor, which disappears, and he's like, "There you go. Told you it'll be safe."
That is wondrous, really. I say as I pick up the dozen knives.
He's like, "Yeah,
shield
well, I've been
club.
about a bit, picked up a few tricks, you know."
Good, Smudge. Let us find the rest of our company.
He says, "Oh, yeah, I think I saw the big lad nip into that first tavern we passed." You head to Rap Tappens, so jump back to the rest of the guys. Okay, Big Mick, you've headed round to this next booth. You can hear these like two female voices from inside, just beyond the sort of like plush blue curtain.
I'll do like some cheesy knock knock on the curtain.
You hear these slightly inebriated, sort of like chuckling voices from inside say, "Who's there?"
I am Mick. Allow me to introduce myself. Is there room in this booth for one more?
"Oh, yeah, yes, of course. Please come in."
And I'll sort of like stagger and sort of half stumble through the curtain.
You head inside. There's two young women sat inside. They're obviously like having a bit of a drink for themselves. You can tell just by looking at them they're probably related. One of them looks slightly taller and slightly older, but they both have the same sort of red hair. They're wearing sort of common clothing that you've seen on like the villagers.
So, do you come here often?
Oh, yes, myself and my sister Maria, says the oldest one.
Oh, Maria, that's a nice name. That's my mum's name, that is.
She laughs this sort of like high-pitched tinkling laugh and says, "Oh yes, we work at the dairy over there, but well, it's a half-day closing today. Everyone's getting ready to start setting up, ready for the markets and the influx of traders and that. So, one of the great things about it is we get a half day off. So we've come in here, haven't we, Rachel? And we're just having a quick drink and rest our feet. Obviously, we've been up since early morning, getting the last milking in and stuff like that."
Oh, very nice too, very nice too. And I imagine you two ladies will be attending, you'll be working at the market. I mean, I can imagine a couple of lovely ladies like you would soon shift a lot of milk to passers-by. I imagine you've been very popular with the crowds.
The oldest of them laughs and says, "Oh well, I wouldn't know about that, sir. But yes, we'll be working at the market. We've just stopped off in here, and we're having a quick flagon of Prigwort Pure."
Oh,
And
I've not sampled that one.
She says, "Oh, you must try it. Please, try a bit of mine. There's a little bit left in them." She holds out this Prigwort Purity. And you see there's about an inch of this emerald green liquid in the bottom of it, which has like a really odd smell to it as you like lift it up. It's almost got like a slightly like fishy smell to it, but with like a background note of like sort of burnt oak.
Ah, well, in for a penny, in for a pound. Very generous of you. Are you sure you don't mind?
Oh no, but by all means, please feel free.
And obviously, Mick, the prospect of more beer will galvanise him into action and drink that down and like heavily sort of misjudge the position of the table as he puts the flagon back down, kind of miss it and then go for another go.
You slurp this like last bit of the beer, and obviously you don't get the full effect. You've only drank a little bit of it, but it's got like a fairly sort of pleasant taste to it, and it gives you this sort of feeling of like camaraderie. Like everyone's just like a friend you've not sort of met.
Okay,
and after you've been talking for a few minutes with these women, it's like you're actually being like quite eloquent compared to like your normal self, and it suddenly dawns on you. Maybe the fact that they've like sank 2 like flagons of this is like why they're being quite so friendly and sort of quite so like chatty and like, "Oh no, you must have a try of this Prigwort Pure." And for the rest of you guys in the booth next door, Lieutenant Uffington and Friar Dunstan, obviously Jackdaw, you arrive and so you make your way to the booth where those two are, and you can both hear these two like women talking like, and then like makes like, and a bit of like laughter going on from the booth next door, but obviously you can't really make out what they're saying. So Jackdaw arrives in the booth with Friar Dunstan and the lieutenant. Obviously he's got Smudge with him as well, so you guys have a chance to have a bit of a chat.
Hello.
How goes it? Any luck with some clothes?
Yes, I have placed an order. It will take enough time for us to maybe not put roots down here, but stay a couple of days and see the glorious market day that is upcoming.
Okay.
You've helped yourself to the local amenities, it appears.
Yes, some very nice beers, beverages. Setting down roots. Sounds like Mick's setting down roots. Setting down his root.
And indeed, as they're saying that, you can hear this like from the booth next door. And Mick, please make a charisma roll.
D30.
Yeah, no one's used a D30 yet. You could bust out that D30. Just remember, if you fail bad.
Anyway, right, so I'm going to go with the The D30.
Okay, first
That
go with the
sounds-
D30. So
That sounds like the Bizzo. Okay.
it's a 3.
No.
Okay, so since we're getting to the closing sort of stages of this this session, what happens is this: the three of you, Lieutenant Uffington, Fry Dunstan, Jackdaw, you're all chatting away, saying, "Oh, it sounds like Mick's having a good time in that booth." And you actually, as you're chatting, you hear Mick and these two ladies leave the booth. Then a few moments later, you hear the sound of footsteps on the stairs in this establishment. You're heading upstairs, and there's some sounds which I won't go into from upstairs. As this is, it leaves you no doubt that older Big Mick is making the most of your vacation in Prigwort with these, you presume, 2 young women that he was in the booth with, and it's all got a little quiet upstairs when the door of the rap tappen flies open, and you see a very irate and angry looking farmer sort of slams his way in through the door. He's quite red faced, looks quite sort of exasperated and quite annoyed. I'd say very, and he's quite a stocky fella. Looks like he's been working on a farm all his life. He's quite he's obviously not a warrior, but he's quite built from hard labour. And he slams the door open. And he's like, "Rachel, Maria, where are you, girls?" And just as he says that, you hear a series of loud thumpings from upstairs, and you hear these two giggling female voices, and you see this man go, and he starts stomping towards the stairs and starts heading up the stairs. And that is where we're going to draw an end to this session, with the irate father of the 2 young ladies that Big Mick has taken upstairs about to stomp his way upstairs and find out what the hell's going on with his daughters.